Queridos amigos, bienvenidos a Punto Medio. It's my pleasure and honor to share this space with my good friend and colleague, Mark Keeley.
Mark. It's great to be here. This is fantastic. And I'm glad we're doing this outside of Canada. Isn't this fantastic?
This is fantastic, Mark. Mark, if you're so kind to tell our friends what is Punto Medio, what would you like to do?
If you remember, and I think you, our viewers saw this when we did our sort of our launch or our pre-launch last year, we talked about having a case in point, an opportunity where you and I could talk about issues that are really relevant to our viewers and actually relevant to the civil society. And here we are now with this, for all intents and purposes, our first show to talk about one of the most important things that's happening right now, and that is indigenous opportunities globally.
Queridos amigos, Punto Medio means common ground. So we would like to find that place that we will be able to discuss those issues, and it will be relevant for Canadians and Latin American people, but also without trying to find the differences. We would like to find that space that will be the common ground. That's right, Punto Medio.
Punto Medio.
So where are we today?
Well, you know what? We're in Mexico City. And I just think this is fantastic. We've had a great week here in Mexico City. We're at a fantastic hotel, the Camino Real, which is where they host all of the athletes from the 1968 Olympics stayed here at this hotel.
I know, but you didn't like Mexican food. I'm so offended for that.
Stop. I love Mexican food.
No.
I'm never going to have arthritis because all I've been eating is avocados.
No. With the jalapeno pepper, you have some issues.
Stop. But it's been fantastic. So we're here with our the guests that we brought with us are the Indigenous Critical Infrastructure Fund from Canada, which is actually a global fund. And these are, it's been incredible, Guillermo, because we're on the cusp of doing some great things. You and I are both involved in the Indigenous Critical Infrastructure Fund. I'm on the board, you're an advisor on the advisory council. It's really an important opportunity for Indigenous people everywhere. There are 300 million plus Indigenous people on this earth. And we're at the stage right now where we're looking at how do we deploy capital, how do we make sure that Indigenous people can assert at a time when there's an opportunity to give voice to themselves and to create wealth.
As a matter of context, I would like to say that in Canada is more than 2 million people who are Indigenous. And the reason that we're here in Mexico today is because in a place and a country that is over 120 million people living in this great nation, more than 16.5 million were Indigenous. I'm saying we because at least 65% of my DNA is Indigenous, either from Oaxaca, either from Querétaro, other regions. So this is the perfect combination about the Canadian know-how and also how we Mexicans, we would be able to work together. So we had a fantastic week here.
We have. I got to tell you, and I'm really grateful to you and your colleagues in government here who laid the opportunity for the Indigenous Critical Infrastructure Fund to deal with high levels of government here in Mexico. It has been an extraordinary opportunity. The people that the fund and the Indigenous leaders who are here got to meet, and not only from Mexico, our Canadian embassy was fantastic. And they rolled out the red carpet for all intents and purposes for our guests, and it's been an extraordinary week.
Indeed. Friends, I would like to share with you that the idea of coming here to Mexico, it was to do the first approach with the relevant stakeholders. What I want to say is that we don't want to deal with bureaucracy. For that reason, we don't touch base initially with public servants or with politicians. We would like to do things differently. And if you're so kind to share with us, Mark, how this fund would be different.
So the Indigenous Critical Infrastructure Fund, I know we're going to talk to some of the leaders of the fund today. It's a 100% owned, 100% managed private equity fund that is controlled, as I said, and managed and owned by Indigenous people. The idea or the mission, vision, and value is exactly what I said, to give voice to Indigenous people and to create wealth, to deploy capital. The benefits of that private equity fund accrues to Indigenous people, and Guillermo, it's globally. It's fantastic. There is no fund like this, and I think I'm grateful that we get to tell the world about this through Punto Media, because you were trying to find common ground. One of the things I wanted our viewers to know is that there is no border between the Arctic Ocean in Tierra del Fuego as it relates to North and South America and Indigenous people. They're not Canadian Indigenous, they're Indigenous. They're not American Indigenous, they're Indigenous. They're not Mexican Indigenous, they're Indigenous. They're not Colombian Indigenous, they're Indigenous. So if you understand that concept and what the fund aspires to do, this is an extraordinary opportunity and something that I think we should talk a lot with to our viewers.
Indeed, Mark. You mentioned that we have good contacts, but the contacts are not relevant when you have a great initiative. And I believe that this fund is one of those rare conditions that you would be able to find the perfect combination about the right fit, the right initiative, the right team. I'm so pleased.
Yes.
And actually, I could tell you that after this week, it has been a remarkable experience for myself. And I think for everybody who will be part of this initiative, I feel very humble, because I could tell you that this team, the people who are involved in this initiative, they are all stars. So we have like a great business people. We have people that also they are well connected, but as you say, the values of the fund and the initiative of the fund, I think, are essential for the success of this trip.
Exactly, I couldn't agree more. And I think we have an opportunity through the show we're having today here in Mexico City to get some really, really good context from our the Indigenous members of our team and other members of the delegation who are here as business leaders. Mexico has just really opened its doors to us, and I'm grateful for the opportunity that you and I get to scribe this event and explain it and actually show our viewers. One of the things that has happened is it's not every day that you could sit with your ambassador and your ambassador says, I think this is something that I can really sink my teeth into to help. Or that we would meet with the president of the Cámara de Diputados here in Mexico. Spectacular opportunities. That nobody gets these kinds of this kind of access. And frankly, you and I have had. You said it was humbling, and it is humbling to be here with this great team that we've got. But more importantly, that everybody's opened their doors for the delegation.
If you ask me which would be like the part that amazed me more, is that this trip, we didn't have high expectations. We know that, and we knew that this is a fantastic initiative. We came over here to deliver a message, but in the way that the message was delivered by the head of the board of directors, who is Chief MEDIO, who also has been a fundamental part of this trip. Also, the general director for the fund, who is Frank Bush, and I'm so pleased to share with you, friends, that he's joining us today. Also, other members of the delegation. And by the way, I'm sorry for my accent. I'm originally born and raised in Mexico City. I have been in Canada for the last 16, 17 years, but I could tell you that I'm a lucky guy. I'm a very lucky guy because I'm able to have access and connection with great people like the people
Absolutely.
that join us today. But in order to just finish this thought, I could tell you that the way that the delegation, the trip, and most importantly, the activities were taking place,
yes.
The momentum that we were able to face, and most importantly, the results of this trip are remarkable.
Remarkable. And I think, one of the things that I know, not only do we get to tell our viewers, but our government in Canada is very interested in this. They want to know, because they've had a copy of the Chief's speech, just so our viewers know. Chief Keith Matthew is a very consequential Indigenous leader in Canada, and he's a chief, and he belongs to a nation in Canada. So it's really, really exciting, and that was something that our viewers would be very interested in how he was so it's almost as if it was a curiosity on the part of the people here in Mexico, because they haven't seen, a headdress like he had on, which is so beautiful and ornate. But the message was really important. So that's why I like what you're saying. And to me, Guillermo, it doesn't matter if you speak English or you speak Cree or you speak Spanish. The idea that people want to work together for common ground is something that I think was just extraordinary for me on this trip.
And now that you are mentioning about common ground or punto medio, the idea of this initiative or this space that we're having, very grateful, thanks to Genesis 360 TV, is in order to bring two different visions from the visions in the way that the Canadian public is doing and is used to do business, and also how people from Latin American background also are able to conceive the way that we do business. I can tell you something, and I have to confess, I have Canada is in my heart for three main reasons. Number one, because I love hockey. Number two, because my wife and my kids are Canadians. And number three, because it's my new home. It's a place that you are able to feel welcome.
Yes.
And now that this delegation that is coming from Canada, I can see that also the Mexican people are welcoming.
Sure.
Could you tell me your experience, and also I will ask you to our friends of delegation, why do you believe that Mexico would be a good place for this fund?
It's interesting, and I think your point's well taken. And I'm not going to speak for the fund, because I think folks like Frank Bush...
You should speak about the fund.
I will speak about the fund, but I will say, the members of the delegation could certainly speak a heck of a lot more forthright about it. But I will say this. I'd almost want to say it's a misperception in people's minds about Mexico. This is a very resource-rich country. This is a very diverse country too, right?
Yes.
But more importantly, this is a safe country. This is a country that's welcoming. This is easy to get to. The culture between Canada and the United States, between Canada and the United States, you can't break. We know that. We don't have as much of a relationship as we think we do between Canada and Mexico. But I can tell you, if you look at the Canada-US-Mexico agreement, that's starting to change things. It was a dynamite piece of political maneuvering, and it's worked out very well. It's helped Canada, it's helped the United States, it's helped Mexico. The reason I'm telling you that, Guillermo, because people think that Mexico it's backwater, which is not true. This is a very innovative place. This is a very safe place to be. And I think we should encourage more and more people to be coming here. And the fund, from what I understand, is saying there are opportunities, and we could put ourselves and maneuver quite clearly into places like Mexico from Canada that has a global applicability.
If may I suggest, I think the first item of the agenda of Punto Medio is to create awareness. Because unfortunately, also from the Canadian perspective, is lack of understanding of Mexico, and from the Mexican perspective, we don't have that knowledge.
Right.
Let me tell you something, and this is fantastic that I will, not because I'm saying, because those are facts. The commerce between Mexico and Canada is outstanding.
Yes.
I could tell you that in Canada, we have 10 provinces and 3 federal districts. Is that right?
Yeah, territories, yeah.
Territories. It happens that the province of Ontario, just the province of Ontario, represents the same commerce that Mexico has with 6 European countries.
Wow.
The commerce that Mexico has with Canada and just the province of Ontario is higher than the exchange that we have with places such as Germany.
Right.
So we are the third or fourth business partner, depending the year and also the circumstances. But I could tell you that we have an industry that is unequivocal, a key industry for Mexicans and Canadians, agro-business.
Exactly. For me, that's probably one of the more important opportunities, and I think it's been, for all intents and purposes, a bit understated. We are now in a position in Canada where we're screaming for the opportunity for migrant worker programs. For me, and I've been saying this to our government in Ottawa for years, why would we say for healthcare, why would we say for agribusiness that we would need to go to a country like Philippines, or we need to go to other nations when it's a 3.5, 4 hour flight from Mexico to Canada, and they're really we're culturally similar. And I think those are the kinds of things that we got to put forward to help at least raise awareness on what you're talking about.
So, Mark, are we agreed that the first item of the agenda should be awareness, and also it would be the first agreement that we're reaching at Punto Medio?
Can you believe that we're not fighting? I love your
Don't
thought.
worry, we will see. Guys, we will see you in the next segment. Thank you very much. Stay with us.